In this class, we're going to learn how to make a quadratic expression a perfect square. You know, some quadratic equation just require a certain number to be added to them to make them a perfect square. For example, let's say we have this quadratic equation x squared. Let's say we have x squared plus 6x plus t equals to 0. Now, t is unknown in this quadratic equation. Now, what is the value of t that will make this quadratic equation a perfect square? Hello? What is the value of t that must be added to x squared plus 6x to make it a perfect square? Okay, now, you see, I'm going to give you some important tips that will help you and enhance your skills in solving this type of question, okay? Now, for a quadratic expression to be a perfect square, are you paying attention? For a quadratic expression to be a perfect square, b squared must be equals to 4ac. Listen, for a quadratic expression to be a perfect square, b squared must be equals to 4ac. Okay? Now, don't forget in our previous class I told you that b is the second term, a is the first term, and c is the constant term. You understand? Okay? Now, in this quadratic equation, what we are asked to determine is the value of t. You understand? The value of t that will make x squared plus 6s be a perfect square. That value of t is what we are asked to determine. Now, to determine the value of t that will make this expression to be a perfect square, you first have to identify your a, b, and c. Hello? A is the coefficient of x squared. The coefficient of x squared in this quadratic equation is 1 because it is unity. You understand? So a is equals to 1 and b is the coefficient of x. The coefficient of x in this quadratic equation is 6. So I'm going to have b equals to 6 and c is the constant term. The constant term in this quadratic equation is what? Is t. So c is equals to t. That means that for we to have a quadratic equation which is a perfect square, b squared must be equals to 4ac. So by substituting the value of a, b, and c into this expression, you see, when you come across this type of question, just remember this. Remember this condition, okay? Any quadratic equation that will be a perfect square, let me put it like that. Any quadratic equation that will be a perfect square, b squared must be equals to 4ac. That means the square of b, the square of the coefficient of the second term in that quadratic equation must be equals to the product of 4 and a and c. Do you understand? Now, let's proceed. b is 6, sorry. I think b is equals to 6, okay? So here I'm going to have 6 squared because b squared equals to 4ac is equals to 4 multiplied by 1 multiplied by c. So 36 equals to 4 multiplied by 1 multiplied by c, that is 4c. So divide both sides by c. Okay, because c is equals to t, just substitute the value of c as t, okay? Do you understand? So I'm going to have 4t. You know that a is the coefficient of x, which is 1. b is the coefficient of, a is the coefficient of x squared. b is the coefficient of x. And c is the constant term. The constant term is t. So c is equals to t. So I replace c as t. I replace c as t. You understand? So divide both sides by 4. This over 4. Here t equals to 9. So the value of t that will make the quadratic expression x squared plus 6x to be a perfect square is 9. Do you understand? Okay, let's take one more example. Let's have one more example, okay? Now write this down. What must be added? Hello? What must be added to the expression v squared minus 18v to make it a perfect square? Okay? What must be added to the expression? What must be added to the expression v squared minus 18v to make it a perfect square? Let me call this 2 v squared minus 18v to make it a perfect square. what should we add? This is a quadratic equation, I hope you know, because the highest power of the unknown is what? Is 2. Okay, so we know that this is a quadratic equation. Now, what must we add to this quadratic equation to make it a perfect squared? Okay, don't forget, I told you that all you have to do, the first step is to remember this thing. Remember this condition. Any quadratic equation that will be a perfect squared must satisfy this condition. That is, b squared must be equals to 4ac. Okay, now in this quadratic equation, the a is what? A is the coefficient of v squared. The coefficient of v squared is what? 1. So a is equals to 1. Now b is the coefficient of v. The coefficient of v is what? Negative 18. So b is equals to negative 18. And c is what we are looking for. C is that term that we are looking for, that by the time we add it to this quadratic expression, it will be a perfect square. You understand? That value that we are looking for is c. So c is unknown. Okay, c is unknown. Now, having known that for any quadratic equation that will be a perfect square, it must satisfy this condition. All you have to do is that just plug in all this value into this this is a typical example of discriminant rules. You understand? I'm still coming back there. I'm still coming. Okay, you just have to pay attention. I want you to understand this concept very well. Okay, b squared equals to 4ac. Just substitute this into this. So here I'm going to have b is what? B is negative 18. So I'm going to have negative 18 squared is equals to 4 multiplied by a is 1 multiplied by 1 multiplied by c. Okay, now if you take the I want to check something here. Okay, let's proceed. Negative 18 times negative 18, that is 324. Okay, so here I'm going to have 324 is equals to 4c. Okay, now divide both by 4, this over 4. C is equals to 324 divided by c. That will give us, okay, 324 divided by 4, sorry, that is 81. So c is equals to 81. Hence, the value that must be added to v squared minus 18v to make it a perfect square is what? 81. You can see that it's simple. Immediately you come across this question in the exam, just remember this. Okay, when you remember this, all the other steps comes in. Just identify your a, b and c, then substitute. Okay, so the value of c, the value that must be added to v squared minus 18v to make it a perfect square is 81. So just add plus 81. Then the quadratic equation becomes a perfect square. You can see now. Okay, let's have one more example. Okay, okay, we have this example. What value of m makes x squared plus 8x plus m a perfect squared? Okay, what value of m? Let me put it here. That's the third work example. Okay, what value of m makes x squared plus 8x? X squared plus 8x, x squared plus 8x plus m. What value make it a perfect square? That is, what is the value of m that will make this quadratic equation a perfect square? Now you can see, all you have to do is that just note that if this quadratic equation is going to be a perfect square, that means that b squared must be equals to 4ac. Okay, now a is 1 in this quadratic equation, b is what? 8, and c is equals to m. C is what we are looking for, and c is equals to m. Hence we are looking for m. Okay, listen, the constant term in this quadratic equation is what? M. So c is equals to m. Now, having identified your a, b and c, all you have to do is that just substitute it into this expression, b squared equals to 4ac, then solve for the value of c. So here I'm going to have b squared, which is what? 8 squared equals to 4 multiplied by 1 multiplied by c. C is equals to m, so I'm going to have multiplied by m. So 8 squared is 64. 64 is equals to 4 multiplied by 1 multiplied by m. I'm going to have 4m. Now divide both sides by 4. So here I'm going to have this divided by 4 and this divided by 4. M will be equals to 16. So the value of m that must be added to x squared plus 8x to make it a perfect square is what? M is equals to 16. Okay, so this is the correct answer. Now, let me give you a test question. Let me give you a test question. What must be added to x squared plus 5x to make it a perfect square? That's the test question. What should we add to x squared plus 5x to make it a perfect square? You can drop the answer in the comment section, and let me just give you the answer. You see, all you have to do is that you just have to substitute the value of a. Substitute the value of a as 1, and b as 5. Then solve for the value of c. You understand? That is b squared 5 squared equals to 4 multiplied by 1 multiplied by c. So 25 is equals to 4c. So all you have to do is that divide both sides by 4. So this is divided by 4. So c is equals to what? 25 all over 4. So the value that must be added to the quadratic equation x squared plus 5x to be a perfect square is 25 over 4. You can see that it's simple, okay? It's simple. Now, this will be all for this class. If you have any question regarding this, let me know in the comment section, okay?